talking about snow.
No, they don't.
I heard the word
No.
Okay.
No.
Increasing to 40 miles per hour after midnight. Chance of precipitation 70%. Sunday, snow and rain likely.
He said the word again.
Accumulation up to 1
There.
inch possible.
He used the S word. They're not allowed to use the S word anymore. It's almost May.
North winds 20 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation 70%.
Oh God.
Sunday night, cloudy with a chance of snow. Rain likely, mainly in the evening.
Okay, I don't want to listen to that anymore. Off.
They're lying. Moin moin and welcome back to Sailing Good Old Boats.
Well, if you are here for the first time, thanks for tuning in and welcome.
On today's episode,
I mean-
we are talking about
Drum roll.
famous O-Day 28.
Man, is that a cool boat, isn't it?
It is.
It's been on our very short list for a long time. Just to catch you guys up here real quick, we want to sail on Lake Superior, mighty Lake Superior.
Yeah.
One of the biggest and greatest freshwater lakes in the world by area. I think
By area.
the biggest one, if I'm not mistaken. So let's grab the little guy here real quick. Here he is, Lake Superior. And we will be coming out of the twin ports here at Duluth and Superior. And hopefully tapping up the Apostle Islands, Isle Royale, North Shore, and we'll see what else. It is huge. It's almost like a freshwater ocean, right? Yeah, seriously, some sailors claim it is harder to sail the Great Lakes than crossing an ocean because, as you know, freshwater has less density, so when weather builds up, you have breaking waves in no time. It can get really nasty out there, and
Really rough, yeah.
and it can surprise you. So we want to have definitely a capable boat for this. But as anything else, you just gotta manage and evaluate the risk and go with the weather, right?
Right.
So the O-Day we're looking at today has something special about it, right? So it's not just any O-Day.
No, it's not.
It is a very rare model. They used to make in the beginning a deep fin keel and a shoal keel with a deployable dagger board, right? So it has basically an encapsulated lead keel, and in the middle is a dagger board that you can deploy to sail higher to weather. So that's the one we're looking at. It's kind of, there's a lot about this boat. It's kind of interesting. She has a different interior layout than the other ones, and
A little bit, yeah.
a little bit, yeah. They had to tweak a bit to accommodate the moving appendages and other things. So it's a boat that we really like. It's a pretty boat, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So for all you guys out there, if you have the newer models, you might know there has been then later on the production run after, I don't know, 325 or 75, I can't remember for sure. They made the fin keel not as deep and the shoal keel a little deeper, and then there wasn't a deployable dagger board anymore. So this one, however, has that. So you can actually go pretty well to weather with it. I'm curious about it.
Me too.
Very curious.
About the performance.
So shall we have a look at it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's have a closer look at the O-Day 28. So we're talking here about the O-Day 28 centerboard. And I know I kept saying, I don't know how many times, dagger board. I apologize for that. Dagger board comes straight down, goes up and down. Centerboard usually swings back, and this one does. It swings back and swings basically into the shoal keel. And this here is the earlier version of the boat. More about that later. They changed from a certain hull number the production line and made the fin keel a little bit shorter, the shoal keel a little bit deeper, and cut out this movable appendage, the centerboard altogether. So this here is one of the earlier boats, one of the latest they made of this earlier boat, and this here has the centerboard. So let's have a quick look at the data first. You can see here a shoal keel centerboard with spade rudder. So there's no skeck in front of the rudder or any of that. She's a masthead sloop, so her foresail goes all the way up to the mast top, and she was originally powered with a Universal 12 diesel with 10 horsepower. Mine has a Yanmar in there, so that's another weird thing about the boat. I believe she has been repowered at some point. They put in a new engine. So when I opened up the engine compartment, I actually looked at a Yanmar 2-cylinder, 14 horsepower or something. So she has a little bit more punch now than with the original Universal 12. Her water capacity, so bunker capacity for water, 25 gallon, that is under the starboard CT, and then the diesel tank is under the cockpit floor, and that holds 18 gallon, and then there's in the underneath the V-Berth, there's a holding tank that holds 15 gallon. So the construction is hand-laid fiberglass, and the deck is balsa cord. The lead is encapsulated in that very version that we're discussing here, the one with the deployable centerboard. So there are no keel bolts to worry about. That is only a thing with the actual fin keel that is bolted to it. The first version with that centerboard and shoal keel was actually an encapsulated keel. And the centerboard itself, I'm not sure about. I don't know what's up with that. I assume there might be some weight in that too, but I couldn't find any data on that. As a matter of fact, the manual that came with the boat is actually, I believe, the manual for the later models, because it doesn't really talk about minimum and maximum draft with a deployable centerboard. I think, if I read that correctly, it is actually by displacement and the draft that is given there for the fin and the shoal keel, the newer version of the boat, and that doesn't match the boat I have. So it's kind of strange. I did the best I could to come up with the correct numbers here. The production period, however, was from 1978 to 1986. So there have been a total of 544 built, and in the beginning there was Punta Marine, and later on then the O'Day Yacht Corporation. The designer behind this here is a designing team, actually, a designer team. That's the Raymond Hunt Association, or Raymond Hunt Associates. So, anyhow, that is her specifications. So, the length overall. It was pointed out by somebody recently that there's something wrong with the way I put basically the imperial measures here. So let me explain. What you see here, the 28.25 feet, I'm trying to lean against metric when I say 8.61 meters. I'm not saying 8 meters and 61 centimeters, although that means exactly kind of the same. It's just a different way of putting it. It's the same like with the length overall you see here. It's actually 28 foot and 3 inches. Obviously, if you take the 25, like 25% out of 100, so to speak, in logic, you cut that foot in 4 pieces, well, you know, you get your 3 inches. So it's like here with the length of the waterline, maybe even a better example is a 22.92, that would equate to 22 foot and 11 inches, if that makes sense. I hope I explained it somewhat. Okay, that's not too confusing. So again, I'm trying to lean imperial against metric. That's why that is. So yeah, that's the length of the waterline, and this waterline, because it's the older version of the boat, is slightly longer, not by much. So in theory, it's a bit faster, but honestly, you know, I mean, the differences are so minuscule. So I don't think it matters much. I wouldn't lose sleep over it, really. If you have, you know, older sails on or so, I doubt that you would actually recognize the performance difference here. The sail area, I gave that here with 370 square foot, rounded up from the 369.99 and so forth and so on. So for easier number crunching, it's 370. And then the draft now, because this here has that center board, the draft is actually 3.25, so 3 foot and 3 inches with the board up. And then once the board is down, we are looking at 6.83. So it's rather deep. That's over 2 meters, almost 2 meter 10, not quite. And then the displacement is also something odd that I really had to get out of a lot of internet search of older documents, because my manual, in my opinion, is not the correct one for this boat. It is actually past that force-going hull number that we discuss here later on, when they made, so to speak, a Mark II. They never called it the Mark II. It was never marketed as such. But in theory, I mean, that is exactly what pretty much every other sailboat manufacturer did. So I believe it's kind of fair to say that. And then, so the displacement with that would come up then to 7,575 pounds, and the ballast out of that would be 2,725 pounds. So if we put that all together and crunch now some numbers to get some performance data out of that, that is how that would look like. So we have a sail area to displacement of the vessel of 15.3. That is not overpowered, not underpowered. I think that is pretty okay. But she is with that more like a racing snail in numbers anyways. That is not reflecting higher performance or so. But the boat is not really intended to do that. And then again, throw some other things into consideration. I made a video exclusively about sailboat performance data and sailboat performance calculations and all of that. I put you the link into the description box if you want to dive a little bit deeper into that and understand that sometimes there's a lot of other things not being considered, like leverage or length of the waterline in certain calculation where you think it should be there. Anyhow, if you understand what goes into the equation, basically bottom line is you have to look at the wholesome picture, otherwise it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to understand the boat's performance. So here with a 15.3, it is adequate, I would say. However, the ballast to displacement ratio comes in at 36 on the dot, with the numbers that I crunched here regarding the displacement and the ballast. And that makes sense if you think that they, when they designed it, had a certain, let's say, performance in mind and wanted to meet certain numbers. Because you can either, I don't know, design the boat and say I want it to be yay long and yay wide and deep and whatnot, and those numbers become obvious, or you do it the other way around, you say the performance of the boat should be as such, and that might give you some numbers, but as soon as you come to the actual performance calculations, everything makes perfect sense. So here we are with 36 ballast to displacement, so she's rather tender apparently, but well, on the flip side, that means you can load her up more, so it makes maybe for a really great cruising sailboat. Displacement to length at 282.4, so not underbuilt, seems to be pretty sturdy for a boat of that vintage and size, and a regular production boat, actually not terrible. The comfort ratio comes out at 2.0 at 20. That's also regarding the beam and the waterline lengths and the actual total displacement, very much appropriate. That is a good number. And the capsize screening formula is unfortunately above 2. So that kind of implies that she was designed as a coastal cruiser or something like that. So never really intended to be taken into the deep blue open ocean. As you know, anything below 2.0 would reflect in that capsize screening formula that it was kind of intended for blue water work. They came up with it after the Fastnet race to have an idea, you know, to measure whether or not a boat could go blue water or not. But keep in mind again, that does not consider any leverage. They don't care how deep the ballast is underneath the waterline. So that says it all, right? It matters. It does matter a lot when it comes to the stiffness and capsize vulnerability of the vessel. So take that with a grain of salt, and again, look at the wholesome picture here. Her sail number of 188 is reflecting her handicap, and then the hull speed comes up technically at 6.4, I believe, with later boats that they made, so to speak, the Mark II. I know I shouldn't call it like that, but I like to do that because it makes sense. We're looking more at 6.3, so it's really a minimal difference that shouldn't be noticeable by all means, I think. Unless all boats have newest sails and are rigged for racing, then you might see that difference coming out over longer distances, but yeah, all the way up to then I doubt it. And then her pounds inch immersion, it takes 839 pounds to make her go down the first inch. Oh, all of that together looks to me, well, you see the box isn't green, it is orange. So that's because I'm a little bit on the fence here with the ballast to displacement ratio and the capsize screening formula, because the stiffer the boat sails, the better the overall performance. And I like to have that capsize screening formula usually under 2, especially when we talk about a shoal draft vessel where the ballast is not as deep under the waterline anyways. So that is my little beef with that here. That is why looking at the wholesome picture, I kind of marked it orange. So moving on, here's a few notes. In later production, and I mentioned that now a couple of times, starting with hull number 323, the centerboard version was replaced by a shoal draft keel model with a draft of 3.67 feet. And a deep keel was also produced with a draft of 4.67 feet. So I must correct myself here. Actually, the fin keel got deeper, not more shallow, because the regular fin keel was at 4.5 or so. Yeah, I think that is about right. So they made the fin keel deeper, and then they made a shoal keel that was deeper than the regular shoal keel that I have with a deployable centerboard. There was also a tall mast available that was about 2 foot higher, and then her marketing slogan was the smallest 30-footer. And I must say, you know, when I give you here the boat tour in a moment, that is not wrong. I mean, it is really spacious for a 28-foot boat. I was surprised. All right, let's have a look. As always, let's start out in the cockpit area. There's something unique about this too. You might notice around the helm that there's kind of a strange cutout. It isn't that typical all the way through, creating kind of a T cutout area for the helmsman to find a solid stand. It is more like opening a little bit and slimming down those benches, but there's still enough bench left that you can stretch out your feet and lay down in the cockpit. So what a genius idea. I haven't seen that anywhere else. It seems to be unique to O'Day. There's also a big gusher. You see the cockpit drains that go down to scuffers above the waterline actually. And the coamings in general are relatively high and gives you a secure feel. There's only a lazarette then, as you can see, to port side later on, because to starboard is a quarter berth, a pilot berth basically underneath. And she has wheel steering, so it's a pedestal with a steering wheel.
Okay. Anyway, I suppose the boats could use a little new paint job. There might be something for down the road, or we'll take care of that. But for the most part, actually good. What I like about the boat is it got this new artificial teak, which is kind of like a plastic material that is entirely rot resistant. So I think that is actually a nice feature. So very low maintenance required. Same like here with a tow rail cap. Also got a decent sized companionway entrance actually. And again, a high bridge deck.
I like that.
Me too. A decent bridge deck with a traveler on top. That's great. So let's see that the key actually works before I lock her up. That's not the one. Good that we... Oh yeah, that's the one. Okay. So that's the right key. Wonderful. And then one more sneak peek into the battery compartment because I want to know what size of battery banks we have. We have 2 deep cycles in there. Dual purpose or just deep cycle? I don't know. Let's have a look. $160 amps, 88 amp hours, and 750 cold crank. 288 amps, so about 100. What is that? Math difficult. 160. 172 amp hours deep cycle and 750 times 2 would be 1500 cold cranking amps. That's pretty good for a small boat. Not bad. It will get us by.
Now that we had a look at the cockpit area, here's the deck layout. Let's just walk it. I think it's wide open. There's not really too much to say about that. You got a really decent size anchor lockers molded into the deck, and overall there's plenty of space to move around back and forth, as she is pretty beamy with a 10.25 or 10 foot and 3 inches. Okay, let's step down below and get an impression about the interior. You know, the galley, the nav station, the quarter-berth, the salon area. And then pay attention to the table arrangement. There's a pipe, an aluminum pipe coming down. And that is there for the centerboard. That is where the lifting cable runs through. And they had to accommodate that somehow. And they came up with the idea of apparently building the table around it, because all the other boats or versions of this boat have a table that will fold up against the bulkhead.
And because this is a short keel version, she's got a cable going through in the middle for the dagger board. Do you like it?
I love it. She's pretty.
It's a very pretty boat, huh?
Yeah.
You got a little nav table with a quarter berth here at the end. Then we got the galley on port side, an L-shaped galley. The galley itself features a 2-burner pressurized alcohol stove that gimbals. And there is an icebox, pretty decent size icebox for a boat of this size. And plenty of storage for pots and pans and plates and everything. That's super nice. VHF Marine radio. And we got also a stereo system in here.
Oh no, those are mats. Table. No, what is that?
I don't know.
Looks like tape for table. Like some table mats.
You think?
Yeah.
Like a tablecloth or something?
Tablecloth, yeah.
Yeah, that could be. What does it say? You float my boat. I like it. I like it. It's very nice.
That is cute.
It is a
Let's
very...
take this with me and I will wash that.
Now it starts raining, of course. That shuts the hatch here for a moment. So, I think best would be if we take out all the upholstery.
Yeah.
And see that we get that cleaned. But that is in dire need of some cleaning, and the rest looks very clean. You did actually a really nice job. The wood is in really good shape. It looks fantastic. It's not bad at all. It looks actually really, really nice.
Here you see me investigating the backrest further, but they, by the way, fold up to make for a decent sized berth. But the interesting part about this here is the chain plate. As you can see here, they come through the deck and tie into the lower inner liner. There's actually an anchor point down there. So there's a chain plate right behind me, and it goes through the deck all the way into the lower inner liner into an anchor point.
So to port its all lockers, there's actually a decent amount of storage in here. And then to starboard, I assume this will be the water tank. And then up forward here, another locker. And then underneath the V-Berth, underneath the V-Berth, there is the holding tank. Right here. And now that we got most of the cushions out, we got this little dome fridge in here, which is a nice bonus, and a microwave because she got a 110 inverter. And she comes with cockpit cushions. Look at that. So it's also super nice. And underneath here, more storage. The bilge has their pump. This boat has an inner liner, and it makes a monocoque structure. There's a wider bilge area with a float switch in here. The boards are teak and holly, and forward is a mast foot.
You might have noticed that she's also, forgot to say that, a keel step mast. So the mast goes through the roof all the way down into a mast foot, right into the keel. Anyhow, moving forward, just a quick sneak peek into the V-berth. There's not much to see, just one big ventilation hatch on top, and the rest is relatively simple.
And then forward in the boat, there's the V-berth. And she also got some locker space down here. And there's the anchor locker is molded into the deck. And there's something like, I don't know what you want to call that, a V-berth storage compartment or so up front also, which is nice to have. We got a ventilation hatch up front. And there's a keystone in the V-berth that fits into the middle to make it a nice double berth.
Now, moving back, came through that already, obviously, the head area. So it's kind of a compartment that you walk through, can be closed off from both sides, V-berth and Salon side. And then you have to starboard your vanity into ports, a head area with a hanging locker behind it.
So then the V-berth's got two privacy doors. The little one here that would slide close, and then the folding door here to create a nice, good size head compartment. One thing, like this, okay. Yeah, we'll have to see how that works. And she got 4 opening port lights up front that all do have buck screens, so that's nice. There's also a rail for a shower curtain up here, so that one could use. Oh, there's even a curtain in here. How practical is that? That's nice. And there's a shower. So then we got up front here. Yeah. The head has a pretty nice vanity with plenty of storage behind that. Actually, it's pretty good with a 110 outlet. The shower head goes down here, and then we have down here even more storage. So that's pretty decent. It goes in first, like so, and that's second. Okay. And then there's some more storage, like a dry locker behind the head. There's also a fire extinguisher here. Okay. There's a fire extinguisher in the head. I think that it might be for the purpose if we have chili. For some safety measures right there. I like it.
One more time before we step outside again. Quick sneak peek into the engine compartment. Now with that Yanmar diesel instead of that universal 12 that used to live in there.
The engine is a Yanmar diesel. 2-cylinder. Electrical panel. So the batteries should work. Let's go on bank 1. And cabin lights on. Very nice. Okay, and off. And then one more time, the Yanmar here, and one can take the access panel off up front. And working on the engine hopefully should be a breeze. Okay, the circuit breaker panel is a bit dated, could use some love and care, but it works, all of that works, so that's good. That separated bilge pump, and then we have a 110 panel here around the corner for the outlets, so that's super nice. And the water heater, because she comes with a 110 water heater, which by the way can also run through the engine if needed, or you can run on a 110 shore power.
As far as I can tell on first glance, the hull deck joint appears to be an outer flange type that has been bonded together chemically with a strong putty and then held together with self-tapping screws. The whole thing is disguised with a pretty solid rub rail all around, and the tow rail itself is molded into the deck. But further investigation is ongoing, so if you guys know anything, please leave a comment.
We gave you guys a good first impression of the boat.
I think it's an awesome boat. What do you think?
It's very pretty.
Yeah, it's there's a good bunch of things that I like about it. For instance, did you notice a bridge deck? You did, right?
Yes, it's very high. She has a very high bridge deck, which I really like.
Mm-hmm. It's it's a big safety measure, right? It's important. I mean, think about your cockpit gets swamped. Not unlikely, especially in conditions on Lake Superior, you know, when we have some short-coming breakers that might break over the cockpit, that might come in handy then. Not everything runs right off into the boat, you know. Yeah, we like it. So, guys, I hope we gave you a good first impression. That is what this is all about here, that you have a good overview and an idea about the performance numbers. We haven't sailed it, so we can't speak to that. However, if you found that helpful, please be so kind and smash that like button for us. Click the bell so that you will be notified whenever we release new footage. And subscribe and share content. That always helps us big times with that YouTube algorithm to push forward, right? I have no idea how that works actually, but it's somehow, somehow helps apparently. Yeah, and if you want to go a little further and support the channel, consider becoming a Patreon. We leave you that link down in the description box. So whenever we actually release new footage, you can pledge to that and help us out with continuously improving our productions so that we can get new equipment and what else. So that's always greatly appreciated. Stick around for the very last part. We have a little surprise, right?
Yes.
A little surprise. There will be one more drum roll, guys. So don't leave us right now. So thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoy the very last part, the extra here, and then we'll see you next time on
Sailing Good Old Boats.
Cheers. What did we do?
We bought a boat.
So we did. So
we did it.
We
did it again.
Which one? Which one is it?
It's on our day 28.
We decided the day. That would be ours. It's a nice boat, huh?
It is.
Like the shoal keel. It's good to have a shoal keel, right? And you can get into anchorages and everything. So we'll see. That's it. We got the Day 28. That is going to be the boat for Lake Superior.
Yeah.
Are you pumped?
I am. and super happy.
Me too, that's awesome. That's a good boat. I think it's awesome. I like the high bridge deck here also. That's something that I really dig. It's nice. It's a good cockpit. It's safe. How about that? That was good. I think it was good. Let's have a look at it.